today I'm going to talk about the Voyage of the BSM Pandora. It's an SPI game that appeared in the Ares magazine number 6. It's pretty hard to get a copy of it because it's, as you'll see, it's a really good solo game. So it's pretty hard to find out there, but I think there are digital archive versions you can print and play. Obviously the cover art is nice and really evokes the theme of strange aliens and the good guys are trying to capture them. Shows some theme here, and then in the rest of the magazine it talks about others as well. I assume this is one of the crew members of the Pandora looking at an alien insect. So, Voyage of the Pandora is a solitaire game of interstellar exploration. The player controls the biological survey mission Pandora, BSM Pandora, as it travels the starways in search of extraterrestrial life forms. The player uses the crew, robots, and equipment of the Pandora to collect exotic specimens while attempting to minimize the loss of human life and return home with the Pandora intact. Voyage of the Pandora is played in 2 time scales. The length of the game or tour of duty is measured in tour months. When a single planet is being explored by an expedition on its surface, time is measured in expedition hours. Voyage of the Pandora does not use repeating sequence of play as many SPI games do. Rather, the player refers to a series of events represented by the 232 paragraphs following these rules to determine the occurrences and outcomes of the journey. The player goes from event to event as a result of his decision and as a result of chance. Some die really involved. In this way, a chain of events is formed that gives play an narrative quality not found in other games. It's a good overview there. And the neat thing about being an Ares magazine, it gives you a lot more flavor too. It actually has a section here on Pandora tech, which is nice. Details of the ship. Awesome sketch here. The shuttlecraft. Detail the shuttlecraft. Ares Corporation, BSM Pandora is a standard long-range cruiser, Titan class, specifically equipped to study new planetary systems and collect extraterrestrial life forms. So it gives some sense of the operational manual, how you power up, navigation, environment, regulations. So a lot of neat flavor here. It's really enjoyable. Specs of the ship in a alien. Great background. And it does, there is another game which I'll be reviewing, the wreck of the BSM Pandora, which in the Voyage home, this wreck, and that discusses that, and they can actually be played together, but that's like another good game I'll be doing. So since it's a magazine game, it doesn't include dice. Probably using some SPI dice from another game I have. Then counters, got a lot of counters, standard 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. A lot of them are 2-sided. There's 7 characters, 4 bots, 21 tools, 39 creatures, 5 artifacts, and 24 game markers. First of all, the characters. You have a nav officer, medical officer, science officer, maintenance officer, chief officer, the ground survey officer, and the weapons officer. So each of the characters have descriptors. They have the capture combat, described here, kill combat, weight, port, and speed, shown here. And on the reverse side, they have their ratings when they're indicating they have an enviro rig they're wearing, which is a suit, and then the ratings with that. And when you start out, so you keep track of them on this crew log here. And then you also keep track of the creatures on the attribute and victory log here. On the crew, you roll for their intelligence, and then you also keep track of their endurance. And then the bots and tools on the crew log keep track of how many are available, of the different types. You check them off if they're need repair or they're destroyed. And then the creature attribute, keep track of the creature name, intelligence, combat, aggression, speed, and victory points. So sample bots are shown here. And then they have a flip side that shows that they're damaged. They have a capture combat, kill combat, weight, port, and speed. And the type of bots are the Specibot, Recon Bot, Ambot, and Imrabot. Tool counters shown here. They have similarly, they have a capture combat, kill combat, weight, port, and speed. So different tools. Arm rig must be worn by a character when it is in a corrosive atmosphere. So it is not ported by the character it wears, but it adds to the character weight when in over a shuttle. When you wear it, all the ratings are used instead of the character's corresponding ratings. Stun bomb may be used in combat against creatures. Its combat ratings replace those of the character using it. Once used, a stun bomb is considered destroyed. Net gun may be used in combat against creatures. Its combat ratings replace those of character using it. Net gun may not be used underwater. Climb kit reduces the time expended to enter mountain and cliff hexes in an environment when an expedition is on foot. Neuroscan may be used in combat against creatures. Its combat ratings replace those of the character using it. Turbo laser may be used in combat against creatures. Its combat ratings replace those of the character using it. Bot kit may be used to repair damaged bots during an expedition. Toolkit may be used to repair damaged tools, except itself during an expedition. Medkit may be used to heal wounded characters during an expedition. Scanner reduces chance of surprise attacks by creatures when exploring hacks. Holographer may be used to create a three-dimensional analytical image of a life form when capture is prohibited. Rover, and when you can either be on foot or in the rover, so this one's important if you bring a rover down with you. Rover may be used to transport the expedition in an environ. Its weight rating is used only when in the shuttle. Its port rating is listed on the port capacity chart. And then E-cage may be used to contain and port a captured living creature. Its weight is always 1, regardless of the type of creature contained in it. You can contain only 1 creature. And then creature counters. On the back is the paragraph that refers to them, and sometimes it also mentions victory points. So many different creatures. I won't go into all detail of them to maintain surprise. But you basically have the name, picture, intelligence modifier, combat modifier, aggression modifier, and speed modifier. And if they're underscored, it means they're negative. And if sometimes they're dots, you have to then determine what they are. Then there's artifacts. Again, these have the paragraph that refer to them on the back. And sometimes they have victory points. And I won't say too much about them because they can show up in the paragraphs. And the various game markers. There's a Pandora to show you where you are in the interstellar map. The shuttle to show where that is on the planet. Tour time marker keeps track of your time in months. Expedition time keeps track of your time in hours on the planet. Expedition supply keeps track of how much supply you have in your expedition. And then Shuttle supply, how much supply in the shuttle. Underground submerged, it's a marker to indicate in cases you're in a cave, etc. Explored underground submerged. So when you explore areas, you indicate they're explored, and sometimes you're exploring either underground or submerged to indicate those. And these are markers for the planet attribute, atmosphere, gravity, hydrogeology, and you flip this over if it's an active geology. Life support, climate, and then flip it over for fog. Then the last component included is the game map. It's pretty small. It's it folds. It's folding thin, or it's thickish paper. It's folds to fit in the game in the magazine, of course. So it's 16 by 11. Different components. This is the interstellar display. These are different planets, and which are in systems, of course. But these are the planets in the system in this area. It's got a hex grid, of course, and these are to indicate the travel between them, and indicates the size of planets: tiny, small, medium, large, and also how far it is out from their star. Close, biosphere, far remote. That's the entry point. So you move it on here, and then when you land on a planet, you go to these terrain displays, which there's 8 different ones, depending on the paragraph will dictate to which one. Different terrain keys. There's flat, hill, mountain, cliff, cave, glacial ice, marsh, alien city, solid lava, abyss, liquid river, pond, lead vegetation, heavy vegetation, alien structure, molten lava. This is the attribute track of the planets. Displayed to show when you go down what stays in the shuttle, what's on the rover, and if something's on foot. Here's the time supply track to keep track of the different time and supply elements. When you move a counter, when you're on the planet, you move a counter up here, and when you get to this corresponding supply check of the type of gravity oppressive, heavy, Earth-like, light, or near weightless, then you progress up here, and then you do your supply checks. That's what that's for. It's a very nice map. Like I said, it's kind of small, but it's very well done. So design credits: game design, John Butterfield and Edward J. Woods. Physical systems graphics, Redmond Simonson. Game development, John Butterfield. Rules editing, David Ritchie. Play testing, blind testing, and production. And the charts and tables used in display. There's the interstellar event table, where you roll a couple dice and figure out what paragraph you go to. Planet table. So based on the planet, you roll die to see what paragraph you go to. Port capacity chart. It shows how much the various items can carry in the different gravity environments, the shuttle, rover, and character bot or tool. Exploration matrix. One column is a die roll, the other is a die roll, and it goes to the paragraph. Die modifiers: 1 if hasty movement has just been conducted, 1 is subtracted from each die result. Modifier result of less than 1 is treated as 1. If an alien city hex is being explored for the second time, 1 is added to each die roll result. Modified result of greater than 6 is treated as 6. The terrain effects chart, the terrain type, supply modifier, and then hours expended from entering on foot, by rover exploring. P is entry is prohibited. Dash is no effect or not applicable. A, if the expedition has a climb kit, mountain hex costs 2 and a cliff hex costs 3, no effect on rover movement exploration. If a fog is in the environment, each hex costs 1 extra to enter and 2 extra to explore. Then the encountered strategy table. You roll and die. You modify die results for if communication is chosen. Add the creature's intelligence modifier. Subtract the absolute value of its aggression modifier. 2 if captured, killed, chosen. Add the creature's intelligence to aggression modifier to the die result. 3 if flee is chosen. Add the creature's aggression modifier to the die result. And then, depending on whether you're communicating, capture, kill, or fleeing, go to the paragraph. Creature rating table, roll 2 dice and add the modifier, and this will give you a rating for an attribute. Combat results table. So you look at your differential and you may shift columns. Results are A is creature is captured or killed, as declared. Damage point is incurred. B, creature is killed, 2 damage points, or creature is captured, 4 damage points. Creature is killed, 4 damage points, or creature is captured, 8 damage points. Creature is killed, 8 damage points, or creature escapes, capture, damage points. Creature escapes kill, 8 damage points, or creature escapes capture, 12 damage points. So getting into rules here, the Pandoran interstellar movement. General rule, the Pandora may be moved from one planet hex to another hex on the interstellar display by using interstellar movement whenever the player is at paragraph 201 or 50. The player chooses any planet on the display that has not yet been moved to or explored and conducts interstellar movement to put the Pandora in orbit around the chosen planet. Interstellar movement is also used to move the Pandora from or to the Pandora entry box. In addition, when eligible to conduct interstellar movement, the player may perform onboard actions before moving. The player moves the Pandora hex by hex from its current position to its destination. Pandora may be moved through hexes containing other planets. The player moves the tour time marker in a number of spaces to the left toward 0 on the time and supply track equal to the number of hexes entered in the move. He then rolls 2 dice. If the number rolled is less than or equal to the number of hexes entered during the move, an interstellar event occurs. If the number rolled is greater than the number of hexes entered during the move, the planet table is referred to. Cases, the interstellar display shows the size of each planet and the relative distance of each planet from its star. A planet may be one of 4 sizes: tiny, small, large, or giant. Size affects the type of gravity that a planet may be assigned. A planet's distance from its star may fall in one of 4 categories: close, biosphere, far, and remote. Distance affects the type of climate that an environment on a planet may be assigned. The player may use this general information when choosing which planets the Pandora will move to. The interstellar event table is used if an event occurs during interstellar movement. The planet table is used after interstellar movement to a planet hex on the interstellar display has been completed. The game begins by moving the Pandora from the Pandora entry box and ends by moving the Pandora to the Pandora entry box. Interstellar movement may occur when moving to or from the entry box, and the box counts as a hex when calculating distance traveled. When the player completes interstellar movement of the Pandora from a hex of the interstellar display to the Pandora entry box, thus ending the game, paragraph 232 is referred to. Whenever the player is at paragraph 50, he may conduct any or all of the following onboard actions before conducting interstellar movement. Repair tools and or bots. 4 damaged tools and bots aboard the Pandora may be repaired by expending 1 month of tour time. If the maintenance officer is aboard, all damaged tools and bots may be repaired in 1 month. A slash is erased from Pandora Crew Log for each tool or bot repaired. Hilo Characters. A total of 4 endurance points may be regained by characters by expending 1 month of tour time. However, no more than 2 endurance points may be regained by a single character in a month. If the medical officer is aboard and is not being healed, a total of 6 endurance points may be regained by characters in 1 month. No more than 3 endurance points may be regained by a single character in a month. In this case, the medkit has no effect on healing characters aboard the Pandora. Study creatures. The player may determine the ratings of any unknown attributes belonging to all creatures he has captured and placed aboard the Pandora. If the science officer is aboard, no tour time is expended to do this. If he is not aboard, 1 month of tour time is expended. All preceding actions may be performed simultaneously, thus the number of months required to complete the longest action determines how many months total are spent on all the actions. Time spent on these actions is in addition to time spent conducting interstellar travel. None of these actions may be performed while moving the Pandora. If the tour time marker is moved to 0 off the time and supply track before the end of the game, it is flipped over. The marker is then moved along the track to the right to show how many extra months the Pandora remains in space. Preparing an expedition. General rule: each time the Pandora is moved to a planet, the planet table will direct the player to a paragraph that states the planet's attributes and the types of environments that might possibly be explored. After pursuing this information, the player must decide whether or not he will explore the planet. If the player chooses not to explore the planet, he refers to paragraph 50. If he does wish to explore the planet, he prepares an expedition by carrying out in order the instructions of the following cases. The player places markers on the planet and environment attribute track according to the attributes listed in the planet paragraph. The climate marker is not placed at this time. The player chooses the characters, bots, and tools that will explore the planet. He may select any units from among those aboard the Pandora, as long as at least one character is included. As the player chooses units, he adds together their weight ratings. If the planet to be explored has no atmosphere or poisonous atmosphere, any character that the player plans to send outside the shuttle must be equipped with an enviro rig. If the planet has a corrosive atmosphere, any character that will be sent outside the shuttle must be equipped with an armor rig. The total weight rating of the units chosen may not exceed the port capacity of the shuttle. All the counters chosen are considered aboard the shuttle and ready to descend to the planet's surface. The player chooses how many supply points will be placed aboard the shuttle. Each supply point has a weight of 1. Anywhere from 1 to 30 maximum supply points may be placed in the shuttle, as long as its port capacity is not exceeded, including all the units already aboard. The number of supply points chosen is shown by placing a shuttle supply marker on the time and supply track. The player determines which environment hex the shuttle marker is placed in and which paragraph it is next referred to in the accordance with the planet paragraph. He rolls one die and places the shuttle marker in the hex listed for the die result. This hex is called the landing hex. If the player is not pleased with the environment the shuttle has landed in, he may roll the die and refer to the planet paragraph again. However, he must expend 1 tour month to do so, and must abide by the result of the second die roll. He may inspect the next paragraph before making this decision. The paragraph referred to when the shuttle is placed in the landing hex describes the environment. The paragraph states which space of the planet attribute track the climate marker is placed in. All environment that may only be explored underwater has no climate. If fog is in the environment, the climate marker is flipped over. In addition, the paragraph may state special changes that must be applied to the terrain in the environment or an alteration to life support value. However, the value may never exceed 5. The player chooses which characters, bots, and tools will remain aboard the shuttle and which will be sent forth on an expedition. The expedition display is used to show the deployment of all the units brought down to the planet in the shuttle. Any units that will stay aboard the shuttle are placed in a shuttle box. If the rover has been brought to the planet, it will be used to transport the expedition about the environment. Units of the player's choice are placed in the rover box, and the rover counter is placed in the landing hex. Any number of supply points may be placed in the rover. Place the expedition supply marker on the space and time of the time and supply track matching the number chosen, and move the shuttle supply marker an equal number of spaces towards 0. The total weight rating of the units and supply points in the rover may not exceed the port capacity of the rover. If the expedition will move about the environment on foot, the units of the player's choice are placed in the on-foot box, and the on-foot marker is placed in the landing hex. Any number of supply points may be taken with the expedition. The total weight rating of the tools and supply points in the expedition may not exceed the total port capacity of all the characters and bots in the foot box. The expedition comprises all the units placed in the rover box or on the on-foot box in the expedition display. Units may not be placed in both boxes. The expedition may be on foot or in the rover, not both. At least one character or bot must be in an expedition at all times. This requirement is not met. All tools and supply points in the expedition are considered destroyed. The player uses an expedition to conduct all movement and exploration in an environment. The rover or the on-foot marker represents the expedition. The expedition's first action must be to explore the landing hex. Note bots may port, but may not use any tools except in a cage. The port capacity chart lists the port capacity of the shuttle and rover in each gravity type, and how the port rating of a character, bot, or tool may be altered by the gravity type. Expedition movement exploration. General, the player moves the expedition about the environment, exploring hexes and encountering local phenomena by connecting expedition actions. Whenever the paragraph requires the player choose an expedition action, he may have the expedition explore hex, conduct hasty movement, or conduct one of the actions listed in 6.9. An expedition action may also be chosen after checking an expedition encounter paragraph or conducting combat. An expedition action usually requires the expenditure of expedition hours. Cases, the expedition may explore the hex it occupies, or may move into and explore any adjacent hex in a single move. Every type of train in the hex costs a certain number of hours to explore. If the hex is also being entered, additional units for each train type must be paid. These costs are detailed in the train effects chart. When a hex is explored, an explored marker is placed there, and the player uses the exploration matrix to determine the next paragraph referred to. An explored marker is placed in a hex after expending expedition hours to explore it. If a cave hex is being explored underground, or a liquid hex is being explored underwater, the exploration marker is placed face down. A hex containing an explored marker may not be explored again. Exceptions: a liquid hex or a hex containing a cave may be explored above the surface and below the surface. If an alien city is explored, and no intelligent life or artifact is found, it may be explored a second time only. The expedition may be moved from any hex in the environment to any other hex in the environment by hasty movement. The player places the expedition in the destination hex and totals the number of hours expended to traverse a route of hexes connecting the hex of origin to the destination. Exploration may not be conducted during a hasty movement. However, the exploration matrix is used to determine the next paragraph referred to after the move is completed. The exploration matrix is used after exploring a hex or conducting hasty movement to determine which expedition encounter paragraph is referred to. Each expedition encounter paragraph lists 3 or 4 statements that might possibly match the expedition's position or some other situation in the environment. If one of the statements is true, the player refers to the listed paragraph. If none of the statements are true, the player must choose another expedition action. The statements are checked in order. If one is true, those that follow are ignored. If hex that expedition moved through during haste movement applies to a statement, the expedition is moved back to that hex, and only enough expedition hours to reach the hex where the interruption occurred are expended. If more than one hex entered during haste movement applies to a single statement, the applicable hex closest to the destination hex is used. A hex containing an explored marker that is entered during haste movement is not considered when checking the expedition encounter paragraph. The train effects chart summarizes the number of expedition hours that must be expended to enter each hex on foot or by rover and to explore each hex. Many hexes contain more than one train type or special train. All train in hex is considered when calculating the number of hours expended to enter or explore a hex. Train in a hex, in addition to train that satisfies a statement in an expedition encounter, does not negate that statement. Cave hex may be entered or exited only through a hex site crossed by the cave. The underground marker is placed on the expedition when in a cave hex. A liquid hex may be entered and or explored on the surface or submerged. The submerged marker is placed on the expedition when underwater. Vegetation in a liquid hex is considered submerged and is considered an expedition encounter statement only if that statement also mentions an underwater hex. The expenditure of expedition hours is recorded by moving the expedition time marker to the right along the time and supply track. The marker is never moved beyond the supply check space and the track for the gravity on the planet being explored. When the marker reaches this space, it is returned to the beginning of the track, and its movement is continued. When a paragraph states that the player may choose an expedition action, he may conduct any of the following: repair a tool or bot. The player chooses a damaged tool or bot in the expedition that he wishes to repair and expends from 1 to 6 expedition hours, his choice in the attempt. He then rolls 1 die. If the die result is less than the number of hours expended, the tool or bot is repaired. If the maintenance officer is in the expedition, 2 is subtracted from the die result. If the toolkit is present and a tool other than the toolkit is being repaired, 2 is subtracted from the die result. If a bot is being repaired and a bot kit is present, 2 is subtracted from the die result. Each bot or tool is repaired one at a time, regardless of whether a repair attempt is successful or not. Any number of hours committed to the attempt may not be reduced. Hilo Character. The player chooses a character in the expedition that has lost at least 1 endurance point and expends from 1 to 12 expedition hours, his choice, in an attempt to regain one of the character's lost endurance points. He then rolls 2 dice. If the die result is less than the number of hours expended, the character gains an endurance point. If the medical officer is in the expedition and is not being healed, or the medkit is present, 3 is subtracted from the die result. If the medical officer and the medkit are present, 1 die is rolled instead of 2 with no subtraction. Each heal attempt is used to regain 1 endurance point for 1 character only. A heal attempt may be made only if at least 1 character other than the one being healed is in the expedition. Regardless of whether a heal attempt is successful or not, the number of hours committed to the attempt may not be reduced. Abandoning equipment, tools, bots, expedition supply points, and creatures, but not characters, may be abandoned. Simply remove the count from the expedition. This may be necessary if the total port capacity of the expedition is reduced by lost character endurance points or damaged bots. If a tool or bot is abandoned, it is recorded on the Pandora Crew Log as if destroyed. These actions do not require the expenditure of hours. Reorganize the expedition. If the expedition is in the same hex as the shuttle, the player may reposition any or all units in the expedition display. Units, artifacts, and creatures may be moved from the expedition to the shuttle and vice versa. A creature placed aboard the shuttle must remain in an E-cage. Supply points may be exchanged between the expedition and the shuttle by adjusting the 2 supply markers. The port restrictions must be met when the reorganization is completed. These actions do not require the expenditure of hours. Return to Pandora. If the expedition is in the same hex as the shuttle, exploration of this environment may be terminated. All units, creatures, and artifacts that survive the expedition and are in the hex are removed from the expedition display. An explored marker is placed on the planet on the interstellar display that the expedition is leaving. The shuttle and all aboard are considered to have returned to Pandora. Go to paragraph 50. Expedition supply. General, each time the expedition time marker is moved into the supply check space of the time and supply track corresponding to the gravity of the planet being explored, the player must conduct a supply check. Anywhere from 0 to 8 supply points are expended in a single supply check, depending on the supply units of the environment, the life support value of the planet, and the terrain in the hex occupied by the expedition. If the expedition time marker is moved through the supply check space and back to the beginning of the track, the supply check occurs in the hex expedition occupies at the end of its current expedition action. Characters, bots, and certain tools are considered supply users. Each character is a double supply user. Each bot is a single supply user. Each tool is a supply symbol is a single supply user. The rover is a double supply user. When a supply check is required, the player determines supply user total by counting each character in the environment twice, each bot and tool once or twice as appropriate. Tools and bots in the shuttle are not counted, but characters are. A damaged bot, tool or bot, or a captured creature is not considered a supply user. When a supply check is required, the result of a single die roll is applied to both the following calculations to determine the total number of supply points expended. The supply user total is divided by the die number to arrive at a result, run it down. The number of supply points equal to this result is expended. Exception, no more than 4 supply points are expended in this manner. The life support value of the planet is added to all the terrain supply modifiers in the hex that the expedition occupies. the sum is positive, is divided by the die number. The result is rounded down to determine the number of additional supply points expended. Exception, no more than 4 supply points are expended in this manner. If the sum is not positive, no additional supply points are expended. The expenditure of supply points is recorded by moving expedition and or shuttle supply markers the appropriate number of spaces on the left on the time and supply track. The shuttle supply marker may be moved a number of spaces per supply check, less than or equal to the number of characters in the shuttle only. All their supply expenditures must be satisfied by moving the expedition supply marker. When supply points for the expedition are exhausted, the required expenditure of supply points must be satisfied by expending endurance points belonging to the characters, bots, and tools that you supply in the expedition. The first such endurance point must be taken from a character, the second from the bot or tool, the third from the character, and fourth from bot or tool, and so on. Creature's combat damage. General rule, most paragraphs that the player is directed to by an expedition encounter statement describe a creature, artifact, or intelligent alien that the expedition has encountered. Unless specifically accepted in the paragraph, each creature and artifact that is found has a corresponding encounter. Intelligent aliens have none. When encountered, the player places it hex where the encounter occurs. The creature's name is recorded in the creature attribute log. The instructions of the paragraph are then carried out. And to choose the encounter by the matching paragraph in its back. Cases, if the paragraph states that the expedition may be surprised, conduct the following check. Roll 1 die. If the expedition is exploring and has a scanner, they are surprised on a result 6. If they are exploring and do not have the scanner, they are surprised on a roll 4 to 6. If the expedition is conducting hasty movement and has a scanner, they are surprised on a result 3 to 6. If they are conducting hasty movement and do not have the scanner, they are automatically surprised. After finding whether the expedition is surprised or not, follow the appropriate instructions in the paragraph. When the player is directed to choose an encounter strategy, he declares that he will attempt to communicate, capture, kill, or flee, and refers to the encounter strategy table. The table will direct the player to the next paragraph. The arrow used may be adjusted by the creature's attribute modifiers, see charts and tables. An asterisk result in the encounter strategy table denotes that a special instruction may be applied. When a paragraph instructs the player to determine a creature rating, uses the creature rating table to calculate the rating and records it on the creature attribute log. A creature rating is determined only if a paragraph requires it, or if the creature is being studied. Each rating is determined according to the instructions on the table. See charts and tables. When a paragraph requires the player to conduct combat, he undertakes the following steps. If not already declared, choose whether the expedition will attempt to capture or kill creatures. Calculate the total combat rating of the expedition using the capture or kill combat rating of an eligible unit in the expedition as appropriate. Each bot contributes to its rating. Each character contributes his rating or the rating of any one tool in the expedition. Determine the combat rating of the creature. Subtract the creature combat rating from the expedition's total combat rating to determine the combat differential. If the combat differential, use the combat differential to locate the column referred to the combat results table. If any column shifts must be applied according to the instruction of the paragraph. Move to the right or left the appropriate number of columns. Roll 1 die and cross-reference the die's result the proper column to yield a letter result. The combat results table is used when the player is required to conduct combat. The letter combat results are explained on the table. A creature will be killed or captured or will escape, and the expedition will suffer damage points as a result of combat. Each letter result has two corresponding outcomes. One is used if the player declared kill, the other used if the player declared capture. In some cases, a paragraph may alter the meanings of the letter combat results. A paragraph always takes precedence. A killed creature is removed from the environment. A captured creature may be placed in an E-cage. If the expedition does not have an empty cage, the creature must be immediately released. Once aboard the Pandora, the creature need not be kept in the cage. A captured creature may not be encountered again. If a creature escapes, kill or capture, the player must choose an encounter strategy again after applying any damage points to the expedition. After resolving combat and applying any damage points occurred to the expedition, choose another expedition action. When the expedition receives damage points as a result of combat, the player must remove endurance points from units involved in combat and/or expedition supply points. The player may use any combination of endurance point loss and expedition supply point loss to fulfill the incurred damage point result. Shell supply points and endurance points belong to the units. Non-involved combat may not be removed. 1 damage point equals 1 endurance point or 2 supply points. An endurance point is removed from character by placing an X in the character's endurance box in Pandora Crew Log. Endurance point is removed from a tool or bot by flipping its counter over to the damage side and placing a /2 box in the unit type in the log. Exception: damaging characters in rig is shown by flipping counter over. 2 endurance points are removed from a tool or bot by removing its counter from the expedition, placing an X in the box with that unit in the log. It's considered destroyed. Occasionally, the expedition will incur damage points as a result of occurrence in a paragraph. Now, as a result of combat, any units in the expedition may lose endurance points to satisfy such an event. A character with lost endurance points has a reduced port rating. A damaged tool or bot may not be used. A character's port rating is reduced by the number of endurance points he's lost, even if wearing an armor rig or an invar rig. When all 6 endurance boxes for character in the Pandora Crew Log are marked, the character is dead. Remove him from play. A damaged tool or bot may not be used at all, but may be ported until repaired. Exception: a damaged invar rig or armor rig may be worn by character. A character wearing a damaged invar rig in an environment with no atmosphere or a poisonous atmosphere loses 2 endurance points each supply check. A character wearing a damaged armor rig in a corrosive atmosphere dies during the next supply check. A character in an environment that requires an armor rig or envir rig immediately dies if that rig is destroyed. A destroyed tool or bot may not be repaired. The Pandora Crew Log shows how many of each tool and bot support the Pandora at the start of play, depending on the length of the tour duty. For example, the number of spec spots available is in a 10, 20, or 30-month tour, or 3, 5, 6 respectively. Note that the countermex does not include all the bots and tools and bots board. Countermex limits what the player may include in a single expedition. If a tool or bot is destroyed in one expedition, the counter may still be used in the next. However, if all tools or bots in a particular type are damaged or destroyed, none of that type may be included in an expedition. Then victory conditions. General victory in Voyage of the Pandora is determined by the number of victory points the player accumulates. During the course of the game, the player records victory points he has gained and lost on the creature attribute log. At the end of play, the VPs are totaled to determine how well the Pandora fulfilled its mission. Cases: the player gains VPs for the following. 1 VP is earned for each creature attribute that's recorded in the creature attribute log, regardless of whether the creature is captured or not. Note: although the player always knows that a asterisk attribute modifier denotes a 0 attribute rating, he does not earn a VP unless he would have had an opportunity to determine the attribute normally. Note: although the player always knows that a dot attribute modifier denotes a 0 attribute rating, he has not earned a VP unless he would have had an opportunity to determine the attribute normally. 1 VP earned for each creature that is captured or returned to Pandora. Certain creatures are worth additional VPs if captured or returned to Pandora, as on the back of the counter. These VPs are recorded on the VP line for each creature. Artifacts that are acquired and returned to Pandora are worth a number of VPs listed in the back of the counter. This is recorded on the additional VPs line. 1 VP is earned for each planet that is explored, regardless of what's found there. This is recorded in the additional VPs line. Certain paragraphs describe other methods by which the player may gain VPs. If earned, these are recorded in the additional VPs line. The player loses VPs for the following items. All VPs are recorded on the VPs lost line. 10 victory points are lost for each character who is killed. 1 VP is lost for each endurance point that the fighting character has lost at the end of the game. Endurance points lost during play that are subsequently regained by healing are not counted for this purpose. 1 VP is lost for each bot or rover that is damaged or destroyed at the end of the game. 1 VP is lost for each type of tool listed on the Pandora Crew Log that is totally expended. All available of that type are damaged or destroyed at the end of the game. 5 VPs are lost for each month beyond the chosen tour of duty, for the Pandora remains on the interstellar display. The number of VPs lost is subtracted from the number of VPs gained to determine the VP total. If the VP total is more than twice the number of months in the chosen tour of duty, the player wins. If the VP total is twice the number of months in the tour of duty or less, the player loses. Then, of course, there's several pages of paragraphs for the play. Sort of setup. Got the map and play raids here. So you can go with a 10, 20, or 30-month mission. I'm going with a 10-month mission, so I'll set the tour time marker there. Then the atmosphere, life support, gravity, hydrograph, climate are set in the leftmost area here. It's a little bit tight, but I think I can make that work. Pandora is set on the entry point. And expedition time, expedition supply, shuttle supply, they say set in the leftmost area. I'll start it here for now. Everything else is set off to the side for bringing into play later. And then they thankfully say you can copy the sheet off. So I did. And then you roll for the intelligence of each of the 7 crew. On a roll of 1, it's a 6. 2 to 3, it's a 7. 4 to 5, it's an 8. And a 6 is a 9. Fortunately, I got a fairly intelligent crew. Commander's 8. Medical officer's 9. Navigator's 9. Navigator's 7. Maintenance officer 7. Ground survey officer 8. Science officer 8. Weapons officer 8. So that's probably a good thing. Then we'll get into play. So of course it's a paragraph game. I'll try to keep it a little bit generic and not give away stuff too much. But to start the play, you go to paragraph 201, which states, outfitted, checked, and rechecked. The Pandora deports from the Watkins Memorial Exploration Depot in the Creighton system. The FTL drive is activated and the mission heads for the first planet in its assigned exploration sector. The area is shown in the interstellar display. Choose a planet on the display and conduct interstellar movement, checking to see if an interstellar event occurs. Once completed, refer to the appropriate row of the planet table to determine the next paragraph. So interstellar movement, he's going to be going to Mephisto, which is 2. Checks to see if there's an interstellar event. If he gets a 2, an interstellar event occurs. He doesn't, so there's no interstellar event. And then we have to take down the amount of time that was taken in the move, which is 2. And since there's no interstellar event, we can consult the planet table. And we're in Mephisto. We roll a die to figure out which paragraph we go to. 5. Paragraph 112. And I'll just give one example of the planet descriptions because I don't want to give away too much. So the gravity is heavy. Atmosphere poison. Hydrograph 25%. Geology active. Life support value 3. Can explore the planet. So roll the die. And I won't say what result we got. So first of all, figuring out which units are going down with this shuttle. It's a heavy gravity, so for the port capacity chart here for heavy gravity, the shuttle has a port capacity of 60. So you have to have the total weight of the stuff it's bringing down plus the supply can't be greater than 60. And the crew that goes down has to have an enviro-rig, since there's a poisonous atmosphere, and that'll add to their weight. And I'm having the chief officer and the science officer go down. So you just flip those over to their enviro-rig sides. So the weights of the crew then with the enviro-rigs is 9, 19, and then I'm having a spec bot go with, which has a weight of 9. So a total of 28 so far. But they're also going to bring some tools. They're going to bring a couple E-cages. They each weigh 1, so now we're up to 30. Bring a net gun, which weighs 2, so now we're up to 32. Turbo laser, which is another 2, so now we're up to 34. And then a climb kit, so up to 36 here. And they're not having a rover, so that climb kit might come in handy. And so they're up to 36, so that means the remaining supply they can have is 24. So we'll indicate that here. And then we consult to see what their landing site is like. And their landing site, which is right here, is described in the paragraph as: the shuttle has landed on a gnarled patch of solidified lava with molten rock on either side, originating from a small hole to the east and a mammoth cone to the west. The climate is temperate, so we'll indicate temperate here. Display the characters, bots, and tools in the expedition display. So they're going on foot, so I'll indicate that with a marker here. And all the items that are on foot will be here. And since it's high gravity, the character bots, their port is reduced by 2. So normally the CO and SO would have a port of 5, but since it's reduced by 2, they can only carry 3. And the bot has 3, which is reduced by 2, so it can only carry 1. Between them, they can't carry the net gun since that's a 2. So they'll be leaving that on the shuttle for now. They might come back if they need that later. CO is a turbo laser, an E-cage. SO has a climb kit and an E-cage. In the expedition, they'll be taking, of their 24 points, they'll be taking 18 of those. So then we'll reduce the shuttle supplies correspondingly down. Goes down to 6. So we'll begin the expedition. They're going on foot. They're in flat terrain, and we're going to explore. And you look at the terrain effects chart, and there's a number of hours expended to do it. We're exploring flat terrain, so it costs 2. And then you keep track of that by moving the expedition time marker down. So I start at 0 and I've cost 2 now. And then once that time marker gets to the supply marker for heavy gravity, in this case, then they'll do a supply check and then restart. And similarly, these other color codes are for other different types of planet situations. So anyway, I don't want to give away what paragraphs do, so I'm going to roll in this exploration matrix. I won't show what my roll is. But the first die is the top column. It's the top row. The second is this one, and then gives me this paragraph in here, and then I'll go to the corresponding paragraph I rolled. Expedition encounter. An alien city hex is being explored. It's not relevant here since there's no alien city hex. A lead vegetation hex is being explored and the gravity is light. Go to paragraph. That's not the case here. Mountain hex is being explored or was entered during hasty movement, and none of those apply here. So we'll place this here to indicate this is explored. And now they'll be moving and exploring a light vegetation area. So since we're entering an area that's flat but has light vegetation, you consider both of those when you assess it. So it'd be Entering is 1 for flat and no addition for light vegetation, so it's the 1. And then the explore, so factoring in the movement and exploration cost, I'll increase the time by that amount as it progresses to the supply check. Roll and check the exploration matrix. So on this one, the landing hex is being explored. No. Alien structure is being explored. No. A vegetation hex is being explored and the gravity is heavy or oppressive. So that applies. So go to that paragraph. The expedition discovers an unusually beautiful flower resembling an orchid. The petals are slowly opening and closing. There is no counter representing this specimen. The plant may be easily uprooted and taken by the expedition for 3 victory points. This is done, however, one die must be rolled on a roll of 1 to 3. Choose an expedition action. On a roll of 4 to 6, go to 33. So I'm going to pick that up for 3 victory points. I'll indicate this here. Yes, and I took the flower and I got a roll of 4 on a 4 to 6. I go to the corresponding paragraph. A squat, large, fur-covered creature pounces on the expedition, has a symbolic relationship to the flower, was served as its food intake orifice until uprooted. The desperate creature attacks ferociously. Choose an encounter strategy. Okay. So there's an animal. So come across this creature, and then we find the creature that corresponds to the paragraph number. This is the other numbers in the back. Put him down, put his information down there. Underscore means negative attribute. So put him on this location. Counter strategy, I'll try to capture. And then modifiers. Communication is chosen, add the creature's intelligence modifier and subtract the absolute value of aggression. If capture or kill is chosen, which I'm doing, add the creature's intelligence and aggression modifiers to the result. If flee is chosen, add the creature's aggression modifier to the result. So I'll add the creature's intelligence and aggression modifiers. And the intelligence is -2, and the aggression is 3, so it's +1. Roll die. Again, I won't show what it is. Go to the corresponding paragraph from this table. Determine the creature's aggression rating. If the aggression rating is 4 or less, determine the creature's speed rating. If this rating is equal to or greater than the single highest speed rating among the members of the expedition, creature escapes. Choose another expedition action. If it's less, conduct combat. If the aggression rating is 5 or higher, conduct combat. Shift a number of columns to the left equal to the creature's intelligence or speed modifier. Okay. So we'll determine the aggression rating. 2 die. 8. So we have an aggression rating of 6. So since the aggression rating is 5 or higher, conduct combat. Shift a number of columns to the left equal to the creature's intelligence or speed modifier, whichever is greater. Speed modifier is greater, so we'll go 3 columns to the left for that. So we're attempting to capture. So for combat, we total the capture combat scores, and the CO is using the turbo laser, which has a capture combat of 4. Science officer just using his own abilities, and he's got a capture of 4. And the spec bot might be pretty useful here. He's got a capture combat of 7. So I guess it's probably a specimen bot is what it is. Total 15. The combat rating of the creature, the florist, is 3. So take the differential, so 15 minus 3 is 12. And then for this case, we go 3 columns to the left because of the paragraph. Because of the speed of the creature, apparently. So it's 11 or more, go 3 to the left, 1, 2, 3, so we're this column. Then we'll roll the dice. 1. So the creature is killed or captured, and we captured it, so that's great. So that's a success. So then the creature is placed in an E-cage, and I'll just indicate I'm here by putting him in an E-cage. And it indicates +3 VPN there, so I just put it here. So then I've explored a couple more hexes here, and as I'm about to explore this next one, it will cost, again, 3 to enter on foot and explore. And by that causes me to get up to the turn and do the supply check. So the yellow down here by the key code is the heavy gravity supply check. So I'll do supply check. So let me do the expedition supply check. So you take 2 times the number of crew which are in the environment, which is 2, so 4 there, and 1 or 2 depending on tools or robot. This robot, and then there's 4 tools, so 4 of those. So all that together gives me a total of 10. And then we roll the die. 3. So 10 divided by 3 is about 3. So we reduce that number of supply. So 1, 2, 3. And then also we look at the life support modifier, which you look at the terrain. And it's +1 for flat, -1 for light vegetation. So it's 0. And then we look at the life support rating, which is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so that's 1 additional supply point you expended. And then after completing that expedition, going back to the shuttle and coming back on board, they decided to go to another planet. And they have to be aware of how many months they have left, because they're down to 8 now. So you can't go too far out. If they go here, so it's 5, they would be able to get back in their 10-month journey. And you can choose which one to go to generally by, if you want to go, these are the types. And this is a liquid planet that's a giant planet, and it's far away, so it could have some exotic species there, I guess. If they wanted something kind of more familiar to Terran, they would choose strategy to go to something in a yellow, which is in a biosphere, and maybe similar size to Terran. So that kind of depends on the strategy you're doing there as far as which planets you're going to. But he wants something fairly exotic, he can go here. And then just doing the, see if there's an interstellar event. So it's 3. So obviously it's unlikely to get a interstellar event at 3, but for demonstration purposes, I'll say I got a 3. Then we'll go to the interstellar event table, roll a couple dice. Again, I won't show what my score was, what my roll was there. Go to the appropriate paragraph. Exposure to undetected extraterrestrial virus strains drives the science officer space crazy. If the science officer is not aboard, or no planet's surface has yet been visited, ignore the event, proceed to the use of planet table. Otherwise, roll one die and subtract the result from the science officer's intelligence rating. A number of endurance points equal to the number must be lost by the other crew members, distributed as player sees fit. Roll one die again. A result of 1, 2, or 3, go to 0, 6, 7. Okay, so we'll do that. Do the science officer. Roll one die. 2. His rating is 8, and so we subtract 2 from that to get a 6. That result will be distributed among the others. So we have to distribute that among the other crew. So that's quite a bit to take off. We'll take off, we'll kind of distribute them evenly. 1 from a weapons officer, 1 from the science officer, ground survey officer, maintenance officer, navigator, and for the medical officer. We'll let the equivalent of Kirk be okay. So basically, by being a science officer being less smart for a while, it caused damage to the other crew members, which is interesting. So that's Voyage of the BSM Pandora, a solo game from SPI. Appeared in Ares magazine. 1981. Excellent game. It's quite extraordinary, I think, in that all sorts of decisions you can make. Like the paragraph form gives you a lot of sense of being in there. You have planetary exploration, you have stellar exploration, combat. You have to choose what crews going to go down, what the encounters are. You capture aliens. A lot of great versatility. I think it has some replayability as long as you don't play it too frequently. Obviously, paragraph games are limited by the paragraphs. So it's obviously got a lot going for it. I'll definitely give it I'll give it a 9 out of 10. The only thing holding it back from being a 10 is that if it were bigger and that it had more paragraphs, maybe a mounted game board, but then it wouldn't be the magazine game that it is. But if we're bigger and more expansive, then I'd give it 10, but it already merits a 9. Great game. I'd definitely recommend it. Voyage of the BSM Pandora from 1981. Thanks a lot.